Welcome to the Lectric Service Center. Today, we'll be showing you how to remove and replace the rear fenders on your Lectric XP Trike. Before we begin, you'll need to make sure you have some tools ready to go. You will need side cutters, zip ties, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 4mm Allen wrench, an 8mm socket, and a hand ratchet. Depending on when your XP Trike was purchased, there might be some slight differences in how the fenders are mounted onto the trike. Earlier models of the XP Trike might have silver screws that secure the fender to the fender stays. Also, earlier models of the XP Trike might have Phillips head screws instead of 4mm bolts securing the fender stays to the frame of the trike. To start the removal process, use side cutters to cut the zip ties that are securing the light cable to the rear fender stay. Then disconnect the quick plug. Next, use a 4mm Allen wrench to start unscrewing the 6 4mm bolts that are securing the fender stays to the frame of the trike. Make sure you hold on to these bolts as you will need them when installing the new fender. Again, depending on when your trike was purchased, these might be Phillips head screws. The process will be identical if this is the case. When you receive your new fender, you will need to install the light, fender stays, and hardware from your old fender. So let's start the disassembly process. Each fender stay is attached to the fender with 2 Phillips head screws. You will need to remove those to free up the fender stay from the fender. We find it easiest to use an 8mm socket or wrench to hold the nut down while unscrewing the screw with a Phillips head screwdriver. When the fender stay is removed, you will see a plastic noise-reducing washer on each bolt. These washers will reduce rattling while riding. Hold on to these as you will need them when reinstalling your new fender. Continue this process on the next 2 fender stays. Now, you'll need to remove the brake light from the fender. Use an 8mm socket or wrench to remove the nut from the light bolt. Once the nut is removed, the light will slide out of place. Make sure you hold onto the light and the nut as you will need them when installing your new fender. Now, you can begin assembling the new fender. It is important to note the orientation in which you are securing the fender stays to the fender. If you are installing the fender on the right wheel, the fender stay will need to be installed facing the left side of the fender. And if the fender is being installed on the left wheel, the fender stay will need to be installed facing the right side. In our case, we'll be installing the fender on the left wheel, so our fender stay will be facing the right side of the fender. Let's start with installing the light. Place the light cable in the last and largest hole. Then place the light bolt in the first hole. You can now screw the nut onto the bolt. The nuts for the fender stay bolts and the light bolts are a little different, so make sure you are screwing the correct nut into the light bolt. You will be using this nut on the light bolt. Use an 8mm socket or wrench to tighten the nut down. Now let's install the fender stays. Insert 2 bolts into each hole through the top of the fender. Then don't forget to place the plastic washers onto each bolt. Now, place the fender stay in the correct orientation. Then, hand tighten the correct nut onto the bolt. Remember, make sure you are using the correct nut. Now, using your Phillips head screwdriver and 8mm socket or wrench to hold the nut into place, tighten the nut all the way down. Repeat this process on the final 2 fender stays. Now that your fender is assembled, you can install it onto the trike. Line up the fender stays with the tabs on the frame of the trike. Then, using your 4mm Allen wrench, screw in all 6 4mm bolts to the frame. Finally, connect the brake light quick plug. Then zip tie the light cable to the rearmost fender stay. Repeat this process on the other side of the trike if needed. Your new fender has been installed and you're ready to ride. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact our customer support team at contact@lectricebikes.com or give us a call at 602-715-0907. Thanks for watching.